Hey, good morning, and welcome to another edition of the Stronger Futures podcast. And I want to dive deeper into a topic that we had covered last week about saying no and the power of what saying no does, not only for ourselves, but our well being, our mind, our sanity, and also to strengthen our relationships, not just with others, but with ourselves. And yes, saying no to others actually does develop stronger relationships because it allows us to prioritize those important events or those important opportunities that bring greater value and ultimately a higher fulfillment of life. And that's the importance of this project of creating a stronger future and how we can do that personally and corporately, not only in our mental, our physical, but our spiritual and the things that we say to ourselves and the things that we allow others to say to us. So I received a lot of messages that were private, and they didn't want to go on to they didn't want to be acknowledged. They asked that this would be a private. They wanted to have some personal interaction. But I thought the value of their questions was so high that I wanted to bring them and share them to you. So I'm going to be reading a couple of those questions off. And the thing about it is that I know that whenever I go to an event, whenever I'm with more than one other person, that there are things that are asked, there are questions that are presented that once those questions are sparked or verbalized, it allows me the opportunity to process that myself and say, what is it that I would answer? How would I answer that? Or I'm glad they asked that question because that's the question that I would have liked to ask, but I was a little bit shy or I just didn't feel like it was appropriate. So this is the power of questions. And maybe that could be another topic that we get into about creating a stronger future. So I know that there's questions out there, and if you have more questions, here again, you can put it in the chat or you can send me a personal message, and I will address it. I will cover the topic, and if I find that these are questions that could relate to others, I'm going to bring them up. And by respecting your privacy, I'm not going to mention your name. So just know that you have that safe space. It's a sacred space that I create with my clients as well. And the other thing that I want to say is that, hey, while you're here, if you're enjoying this podcast, if you're getting any value out of it, do me a favor and just hit the like button on the subscribe and like. And let's get right into this. Thank you for doing that. Why is it so important in our lives to say no? Well, saying no is a critical because it sets boundaries, and there's so much talk about boundaries, and it's not just boundaries to keep us safe in, but it's boundaries to keep others from overriding. And we can have boundaries internal and external. The internal boundaries are the things that we don't allow in, and the external boundaries are the places that maybe we shouldn't go. And so it protects those boundaries of our time and our space and our energy. And ultimately, time is the ultimate value. And I'm going to cover that a little bit later with a question that was presented. But our energy, we say that we want to drink a sports drink or we want to drink an energy drink so we can get a boost so we can have more energy. But when we're constantly supporting that externally, we're causing a greater depletion internally. So I just want to encourage you to, when you're saying no, you're actually setting a boundary that restores, rebuilds, and just delegates how much energy you're willing and able to give to other people in a healthy manner. Saying no also prioritize what's important to us, what matters to us most, and it allows us to determine what is it that we're willing to take on. There's only 24 hours in a day, and and I'm constantly in conversation. Um, and I can bring up my son. He said, "I just wish there was more hours in a day. If I just only had a few more hours in a day." And when I think about it, when I think about people like Tony Robbins, he gets as much done in the day that I have. He has the same 24 hours, and yet he's able to get so much more done. So how is that? Well, it's by prioritizing what it is that he's doing. It's by prioritizing what I am doing. And it's learning to say no to even some of the most enticing opportunities that could be a distraction for the place that you're going and the place that you're intended to go. Without saying no, we can become easily overwhelmed and spread ourselves too thin. And I know I'm not the only one in the room that has spread themselves thin. And at the end of the day, you go, my gosh, how did I do that? Why did I do that? Why did I put myself out there? And when I do say no to other opportunities or all of the opportunities, because there's only one of me and there's only 24 hours in the day, that's something that they haven't been able to manipulate yet. Um, it allows us to restore and rebuild. Now, I'm going to share a little personal experience with my own life and a time that I had to say no to something that I love doing. Many of you may not know that I was involved in ministry and I loved it. And the reason I loved it because it brought about transformation to people. Now, this isn't a message about religion because the church that I preached at, it was not about religion. The Bible is not about religion. It's about relationship. And when my mission statement was, we exist to remove the walls of separation so that people can experience life as God intended it. And we get so inundated with opportunities and subjects and topics and going places and doing things. And, most people, after they go on a vacation, they come home and they say, I needed a vacation from my vacation because I was doing so many things. I was saying yes to so many things. And the next time I do that, I'm just going to eliminate the opportunities and I'm going to go and I'm going to relax like I thought that I was going to. Well, in church, I preached for about 14 years. And there came a time when it was overbearing on me. And I love God and I love people. And I was loving people at the expense of my own energy. And I was still working construction. So I was still supporting myself through my construction. And then I was doing ministry. So I was doing heavy physical work and heavy mental, emotional work. And this is what being around people does. It's emotional work. And sometimes we have to learn to say no so that we can get restored. And there came a point when I just couldn't do all the things that I was doing. And I made the decision that I was going to have to close the church. I was not affiliated with another church. We were self-supported. And I made that decision. And I remember somebody saying, if you only do this for 6 more months, you won't have to work construction anymore. And I said, I've tried to do that. And over the last 14 years, I couldn't do this for 6 more days because of the setup and the teardown and the emotional expense. And then my children were involved in many activities. So my weekends were running ragged. And I came to the point when I made that decision of saying no. And ultimately, what ended up happening, and for those of you that are not involved with church, that's fine. You don't have to be to hear what I'm sharing. But what I want to share, why I'm sharing this, is that I woke up and God spoke to me and said, "Your work for me has replaced your worship of me." And that was like a revolution. That just like shook me from the core. It was like lightning coming down from heaven. And I got my priorities kind of messed up. And my work for God is not what he wanted. He wanted my worship. So in essence, I made the decision. And it was the best decision that I made. Now, it didn't come easy from those that were part of my church, but I was one person doing what I could do. And I did all that I could do. And you come to that point where you exhaust yourself at the extent of your health. And so, what I want to share with you today is that saying no could actually open up greater opportunities. And I still integrate my ministry, it's part of my identity, just who I am. So it doesn't negate your identity, your values, or your core development, but it allows you greater opportunities and to exercise that gift of saying yes to yourself in multiple more ways. Because of that, I extended and I got my certification in life coaching, and then I got certified as a brain health trainer, and then I got certified as a neuroencoding specialist, and I got certified as a postural specialist. And it is, how do I bring all these things into the body, the mind, the spirit, heart, health, all these things? And it actually gave me a greater opportunity. And by saying no to one thing that I really, really loved, and it opened up so much more. And now I can't tell you the amount of joy that I have because I'm able to continue to do those things that brought me fulfillment and purpose in different manners. So when you find yourself saying yes to everybody and answering the phone call for everybody and working, if you're saying yes to your job over and over and over at the expense of your health, I want to encourage you to take a moment and just take an inventory. And the reason that I say that is because I hear so many times that people are saying, you know what? I'm going to wait till the kids grow up and then I'll spend time with them. I'm going to make time up. Right now, I'm just making the money so that I can provide, and eventually I'll make this time up. I got sad news for you. You cannot make time up. It is absolutely impossible. You cannot make time up. And so this is where you have to establish your priorities. What's the most important thing to you? And I remember another pastor who was a therapist and counselor. And he said to me, he said, you know, remember this. And this was in the beginning of my ministry, was if you help save the world and you lose your children, there is no gain. And it was a statement that was constantly within me. Now, many of you are not preachers. Many of you are not even involved in church. Many of you don't speak. This is my story. This is my personal experience that I can share with you to give you a little hope. Maybe you can fill in the blanks with a different scenario. Maybe you're saying yes to having every dinner at your house. Maybe you're saying yes to extending yourself, your time for everyone else, and you're negating your own health. So I shared that story so that you could kind of switch the parts, switch the characters, and insert yourself in there. Maybe the scenario is different. So self-care, personal projects, spending quality time with your loved ones, that's the value. The major impact is my personal well-being. That was the impact, and bringing energy within. It opened up spaces that saying yes were an extension to other things that aligned with my goals and my values. It gave me the opportunity to invest in those things that were even more meaningful to me, things that I couldn't replace, like my kids' sports events, my kids' activities, and not feeling guilty that I was putting something else off. It also gave me a greater fulfillment of life. It was in that transition period time that I had to find myself again. And, you know, a lot of times this is what happens. I want to say I've gone to the empty nester experience. And I had to find myself again when the kids moved out and they got married and they're having kids of their own and they're having their own experiences. I had to find things that, hey, who am I again? Who am I without all of these other activities? And giving myself permission to say yes to me again was really just an awakening, and it's a freeing moment. Ultimately, like I said, it gave me a liberation, and it's not selfish. It is not selfish. Let me say that one more time. Hear me. It is not selfish. It is it is self-fulfilling, it is self-restoring, and it is self-renewing. It's necessary for your own happiness, my own happiness. Saying no to something or someone else outright, it's not you're saying no to them, it's saying no to the event. It's about honoring your needs and boundaries. And start small. So one of the questions was, how do I start saying no? And I love this question because it is a question for everyone. How do I start saying no? It's by saying no in the small things. It's the same way that you say yes and say them small. Okay, so if you're in the dating process, if you're in the dating world, and you go out on the first date, and the person sitting across the table from you says, "Do you want to get married?" More than likely, in that first hour, you're going to say no. Why are you going to say no? Because even though you want somebody, you want to make sure that that's the right opportunity for you. And, a better opportunity may come out. You may find that it's not fulfilling. You may find that it's not aligning with your goals. And I use that little silly example because it's relevant. So if you wouldn't say yes in the first hour to getting married, why would you say yes to everything without considering the options and to consider what values it aligns with you and also your energy? Is it adding or is it taking away? Is it depositing or is it withdrawing? So gradually saying no, giving yourself permission is the key to having a fulfilling life and also finding your meaning and purpose. It's the another question was, how is saying no a gift? And I love this because saying no is a gift. It is when we say no to other opportunities that don't align with our priorities, we're essentially giving ourself the gift of time and energy. Now, I know that someone listening right now has said, "Oh man, I went to that event. I went to that party. I went to that gathering, and it just sucked the life out of me. It just drained me." That one person that's there that found that last nerve again. And I should not have gone. I knew I shouldn't have gone. And it's our instinct, it's our intuition that says, hey, maybe there's something about this that doesn't align with me right now. Maybe it would align with me next week, but right now it doesn't. So how we say yes, um, it's taking that inventory. Don't say yes to every invitation that comes our way. You see, because we often spread ourselves thin and we neglect our own needs. When we say yes to every invitation or every request that comes our way, it's often at the expense of spreading ourselves too thin and neglecting our own needs. By saying no, we're reclaiming control over our time and energy, which then allows us to focus on things that are truly important to us, more meaningful. I can't stress that enough. And the conversation that I had with Ruth Stanley last week, it was so beautiful because it was giving ourselves permission to vocalize this for other people because we've experienced in our own life. And it also allows you to pursue passions. What is it that you're passionate about? I want you to just take a moment and think about, what is it that you're truly passionate about? What is it that you would want to do that you haven't done because you haven't had time? And today would be a good day to start. When is now a good time to say yes to you? Spending quality time with loved ones, simply taking moments to recharge. So saying no is a way of honoring ourselves and our well-being. It's about prioritizing what truly matters to us, and to be intentional with how we spend our time. Time is the most valuable asset that we have. We can't make time. You can make money. I remember I was on a job one time, and we were working crazy, stupid hours. I mean, crazy, stupid hours. And the owner of the company said to me, he said, Stan, I can't give you the time. You know, um, uh, I can't let you do that. And I said, you know what? I can make money anywhere. I could never make time. And it was about when my son was wrestling. And I said, I'll be out on the job until wrestling season starts. So I was traveling, and I said, I'll be out here running the job. But when wrestling season starts, I'm done traveling because I am not missing these events. And he said, well, we've got all this work to do. Well, when you're working 16 hours a day, every day, either you need to increase the amount of people that you have working for you, or you maybe need to say no to some of the projects that you know you can't support. That's another subject. We don't need to go there. I'm just sharing a little bit with you. I know I ticked somebody off here because they're wanting to make their employees work more hours, and I just made some employee happy and given them the power of no again. So what I want to share that with you is know what your values are. Know what's most important to you. Because at the end of your days, I've never heard anybody say, gosh, I wish I would have worked more hours. I wish I would have eliminated the time with the people that I love and the things that I love doing. I wish I wouldn't have had any hobbies at all. No, I wish I would have just spent more time saying yes to everything so that I could give away whatever I had. I've never heard that. Opportunities come and go. And I believe you're always where you're supposed to be at the moment that you're being there. Let me say that again. Opportunities come and go. And you are always in the exact place that you're supposed to be when you are there. I remember going to a conference and the speaker spoke for 14 hours. And I'm not going to give it away that it was a Tony Robbins conference, but Tony can talk for 14 hours and not stop. It's like, where does he even go to the bathroom? I mean, this guy is crazy up there on stage. And what he gave us the permission was he doesn't take breaks. And during this conference, there's no breaks. And the statement was, you're exactly where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. So go take a dinner break when you want to take a dinner break. Take your water break when you will get what you're supposed to get wherever you are. You're in the right place more often than you think. And this is where the fear of missing out comes in. And I had a few people that mentioned, but what if I miss out on that? What if I miss out on this? And my question is, it's natural, or my statement is, it's natural to fear or to feel like you can fear of missing out. But when you're saying no to something, especially if you're accustomed to saying yes to everything, it's going to feel like you're going to miss out on something. It's going to feel like, what if the opportunity is there? But how many times have you left what you thought was an opportunity and it wasn't really an opportunity? It was just another event. It's important to know that to know, not N-O, but to know, K-N-O-W, to know that saying no is not rejection of others. It's not. And this is the fear that a lot of people have. We think that they'll take it personally. I've actually had a couple of people that I've asked to be part of the show, and they just had to say no. And I don't take it personal. No big deal. It is really no big deal because they're where they're supposed to be at the moment. Or if it doesn't align with their system, their values, their goals at that particular point in their life, then it's okay. And it goes the same for you. Give yourself that opportunity to say no, and don't see it as you're rejecting them. Don't even feel like you're rejecting a person if you say no. It's just no. Maybe it's not now. Maybe they don't have the time right now. It's not personal. That's the beauty of what no gives you the opportunity. So, reflecting on your values and priorities, let that be your guide to make the decisions that you're about to say yes to or no to. Remember, it's not selfish. No is not selfish. Let me say that one more time. For the person that didn't hear it the first, I don't know, 5 or 6 times, no is not selfish. And I pause there for a reason, because it's not. It's an opportunity to say yes to self-preservation, self-care, and it also allows the opportunities that wouldn't have been there for the other person to maybe be present. You're saying no to them may challenge them or give them the opportunity to discover something even more. I can remember when my son, actually, and my daughter, the first time they got on the diving board, and I was coercing them to come in. Now, there were a couple times that they said no, they just weren't ready, and they got off that board. And then when they said yes, they were saying no to the opportunity of the exhilaration that is present when you jump off that board. And then it got to the point where, I was treading water for so long, and I was saying yes, and I'm almost drowning, right? But the idea is that as I said, no, I'm not removing myself from this body of water, and I'm going to give them the courage and the confidence, because this opportunity may never present itself again. And maybe there will be somebody else at the end of the board in the water, just to provide that feeling of security, that catching that would have been there, and I wouldn't have been. So if I would have been too busy to get in the water with them, or if I'd have been too busy to do something with them because I was saying yes to other things that weren't aligned with my values and my goals, I could have missed that opportunity, and that would have been sad. So I got another question, and that question was, can you describe how saying no is not selfish? And it kind of pigtails off of the last one. But when we acknowledge our own limits, we're honoring our needs, which is crucial for maintaining a balance and preventing burnout. How many times have I talked to people, countless, that tell me about burnout? I talked to a CEO who has made a lateral shift from running one company to another, and they're burning themselves out. They're burning the candle at both ends. And sometimes it's easy when you are type A, that burning a candle at both ends can be seen as a badge of honor, because you're tough. You can do this. There's no time limit. You can work and you can sleep for 2 hours a day, and you're just amazing. Well, there's a burnout, and it's going to catch up. And sometimes there are things in our life that if we say yes to too many things, life kind of takes a toll and says, okay, now I'm going to show you, you're going to say no, because I'm going to make you sit or recover from an illness or an ailment. And it's getting that energy back and learning not to take on everything, so that we can restore, we can renew, when we can recharge. When we set limits on ourselves and on others, it's about recognizing when things don't align with our values and our goals. And it's the courage, and I really mean this, it's the courage to decline despite the external pressures. You're only one person. I want to say, love yourself, be kind to yourself. It isn't always easy, and there's going to be pushback. There's going to be guilt trips. It's like, oh gosh, can't you just do it one more time? And you're going, man, I can't. I couldn't. It was like the message that I gave earlier. And when somebody said, all you need to do is preach for 6 more months and then you won't have to do construction anymore. I couldn't do it anymore at that point. And I was taking the chance of burning myself completely out. It's like staying in a relationship or staying at a job too long and it's draining you. I say, if you wake up and you say you hate your job over and over and over, maybe it's time to change the job. Maybe it's time to say yes to you because it's not aligning with your values, not your goals. So I want to encourage you to remember that prioritizing your needs and your boundaries is not selfish. It's for your well-being. It may be disappointing to others temporarily for a moment, but the rewards are so much greater. Now, I want to say that this is simple to do, but it's not easy. It's simple to say no, but it's not easy. So be kind to yourself. Have a little grace on yourself. And I just wanted to check and see if there was anything going on in the chat. Be graceful to yourself. Honor yourself. Saying no is not rejection of others. It's a way of honoring yourself and living authentically. And that's what this Stronger Future Project podcast is about. It's about creating a stronger future. It's about setting boundaries. It's about implementing the things that are going to bring you high value, greater importance, and build your goals, achieve the goals that you have. And when you find that you're ultimately creating the life that you were intended to live because it aligns with your values and your priorities, there is nothing greater that you can experience. So I want to thank you. I want to say, if you could do me a favor, and if you've enjoyed this, my YouTube channel is Imagination the Awakening. You can go there, hit subscribe and like. If there's questions that you want answered, or if there's a topic that is really at the top of your mind and you'd like to know more about it, send me a direct message, send me a message on the comments, and we'll cover that. Until next week, you'll want to join us next week. I won't tell you what it is, but it's exciting. And I have a lineup of guests over the next 3 weeks that are just going to blow your mind. So say yes to this podcast. And thank you for joining me. And you have an outstanding day. I will see you at the next time. Have a great day.